So, I want to introduce you to somebody, Lucy Parker, who you can see to my side, hopefully. Lucy is quite an interesting individual, I think, part of the Keller Williams organisation, albeit not in the UK, although you're from the UK, right?
Yes,
as we will delve into. And I thought what might be quite interesting, because Lucy's quite high profile, I think she's quite high profile insofar as social media and the wider Keller network, and quite successful, I think. I thought it would be interesting just to have a chat for a few minutes just to see what Lucy's all about, what drives her, and so on. I thought it might be helpful and useful for some of our agents. So Lucy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Russell, for inviting me, and I absolutely love meeting new people, so this will be exciting for me as much as it will be for you. So, yep, let's go for it.
Most people say somewhat differently after they've met me. They say, well, you know, what an anticlimax it was. But anyway, I'm kidding. So look, so can we kind of dive into, you know, you and your kind of background? So do you mind just talking about, you know, where you're from? Obviously you work in Dubai. You have done for some time, but not just Dubai. So obviously you've done other things elsewhere. Do you mind just giving us a couple of minutes on your kind of your initial and early life?
Yeah, sure. So I think I don't think I can sum my life up in a few minutes, but what I'll say is this. Look, until the age of 8, I was brought up overseas in the South Pacific. So in the beautiful islands of Vanuatu and then Fiji. So from a young age, if I look back, I definitely have mixed with many, many cultures. You know, my best friends in the class were from, well, all nationalities. So for me, I'm very comfortable being around everyone from all corners of our globe. If I can look back and see, you know, how my childhood began. And, you know, weekends were spent out and about beaches and just really exploring incredible destinations. We traveled a lot on our route back to the UK, Russell. So, you know, got to see some fabulous places as well. And then came back. I'm from Surrey, Hazelmere, Surrey in the UK. Came here back from 8 until 18 for schooling. But I was at boarding school from the age of 10. So from the age of 10 until 13 and a half, my sister and I were asked to go to boarding school and be full-time boarders. I was super excited because I'd read all the Enid Blyton stories at the age of 10, all about Mallory Towers and having the midnight feasts.
Not Matilda, the story that's about horrible experiences at boarding school.
No, I didn't read Matilda so much, but it was really Mallory Towers, I remember. And I was so excited to get to boarding school. But, you know, and then what we did was we used to fly home. Our parents lived in Denmark, so we used to fly home to Denmark on half terms and holidays because schooling in those days wasn't like it is today. So they wanted us in the UK system. But basically then my parents moved back, and so, you know, everybody became day pupils again and everything was cool, and we were here in the UK, in the area, Guildford, Hazelmere, Surrey. So now at the age of 16, I loved school, but I loved school for all my friends. To be fair, I was definitely not the brightest in the class. I wasn't the worst. I was your average pupil. But Russell, let's say this, I had to work really hard for my grades, and I did. I always had to have a high work ethic. From a very young age, you know, I'd be the one studying for 4 hours every day before my GCSEs and my exams. And as a result, I pretty much got the grades I wanted, more or less. So I knew I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I knew I wanted to travel the world, and I knew I loved people. So I thought I want to improve my languages. I spoke Spanish and French, but not very well. I'd always been told at school I was useless at French, which in my mind, if somebody tells me I'm bad at something, I'm going to go be the best I can be.
That became a bit of a challenge by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I quite like challenges in a way. So then basically when I was 16, I decided I didn't just want to go into an office job and do what everyone else did and go into the rat race. I wanted to see the world and have a real life by design. So I looked into gap years, and there's a company called Project Trust, and basically you have to go on the selection course to the outer Isles of Scotland for a week. They want to make sure that when they're sending you away as a 17, 18-year-old, that you can live without your parents for a year. And you'll be okay, you know. So
SAS type training, they sent you off with a can of baked beans and a tent and just said, don't come back for a week and hopefully you'll survive.
Well, let's put it like this. I had to herd in a Shetland cow, and that was pretty like full on. This cow was 4 times my weight and size. That was a bit scary. So I had to like shout and
Not because you had to go and then eat it as a consequence.
No. I'm a vegetarian. No, I wouldn't do that. So there, and we had to do like a Kurdish language test. Anyway, basically, to suffice to say that I passed the selection course, and then I could choose where I wanted to go in the world. And these were all voluntary placements. So I chose to go somewhere completely remote and random, just like that on the map. And I went to the Honduras Islands in the Caribbean called the Bay Islands, Roatan. And Roatan, by the way, is paradise on earth. You have to go there. So there were 4 of us that went. We lived in a shack. We had no electricity for like about 18 hours of the day. We had like electricity just at night. So we had no running water. So we had to wake up at 5 a.m. to collect the water that had come through the rain the night before. There were like dirty mosquitoes.
Must have been reminiscent of your boarding school days, Lucy.
No, boarding school was a little bit better than that. But no, it was pretty horrific, okay? We had no salary, and we had a wooden shack that you could break into with a credit card, because we went with there was us 2 girls and 2 boys. We were all really good friends, but because they didn't have as much money as us, they used to break into our shack to take our food out of our fridge so they could have the food. Anyway, I've got so many stories. So suffice to say, I had a really extraordinary year.
At that time, you're how old? 18?
And I was a school teacher. So I went to teach English to 4-year-olds in a Spanish island, and the 9 to 12-year-olds. I was their school teacher. So I'd be teaching PE, I'd be teaching geography, I'd be teaching science. So like, I was the teacher that always took the kids on school trips. They loved me. We were like, let's go and see the dolphins. Let's go to the beach and do like a recce on the beach. Because I think learning's got to be full on. It can't just be textbooks. I hated that.
And interesting, so that people learn.
Yes, you've got to remember it, exactly, by experiences. I'm an experienced person. So basically, I also learned to scuba dive. So did my dive master. So I used to take tourists diving in the afternoons. Just an incredible year, Russell. Never spoke to my parents on the phone. There was no text messages, no mobile phones, definitely no social media. This was 25 years ago. Never spoke to my parents on the phone in a whole year because it was so much money, and they were told maybe we'd be homesick if we spoke. So it was a big thing. And I remember when I got back from that trip overseas, honestly, it sounds really weird, but I remember kissing the carpet in Mum and Dad's house because I was so grateful. There was a house with carpet. There was electricity. I turned on the tap and screamed. There was running water. And I'd really experienced a different life.
And what did you learn from that experience at that young age? What was your big takeaway? What was your big aha?
My aha was I'd taken so much of my life for granted, my entire life. And there's so many people out there that have so much less than us, and we have to be grateful, you know. And there I was when I was 11 wanting a certain like Benetton shirt. It had to be from a certain shop, and it had to have the name and the logo.
That sounds familiar. My daughters, 2 of my 3 daughters are sitting just over my shoulder behind me. They're very familiar indeed. Yeah.
Really? But that's what it was, because I was around these girls that if you didn't have the right thing, you weren't cool. You know, and when we're young, we only listen to our peer group, to our friends, and we think that if we don't fit in, we're the odd one out and we're a failure.
You want to be cool and you want to be accepted.
Yeah, and what I realized is, my goodness, that was so wrong. I should have been the one to stand out and do it my way, because in the end, a lot of those people probably aren't in the same places where I am today.
So how did you end up in Dubai as a Keller Williams real estate agent?
I know. So fast forward a lot of story, but basically I was a tour guide and loving traveling the world, but there was no money in tourism. So I thought, wait a minute, I really want to get into real estate, because real estate is part of my goals and my dreams. I want to own homes, and I want beautiful luxury homes. And I thought,
it was part of a wealth goal, yeah?
It was a wealth goal, a personal goal, that how am I going to know what I want to buy and where if I don't understand real estate? So I thought the best way to understand it is to do it myself. Okay, and to be closest to where the great deals are. So I looked up, because I speak French and Spanish, and I've always wanted to live in France and buy my dream house in France. So I looked up all the real estate companies in France. I found this really small one called VF. It doesn't exist anymore, Vive en France. And I moved to the southwest France, to Perpignan, which is right by the border, you know, 3 hours north of Barcelona. So they were an English couple. They did all the real estate part. Remember, I'd never been in real estate. And my job was to go to the little airport, pick up the Irish, basically it was Irish tourists that would all come and buy these beautiful chateaux and masses and mansions and maisons de vacances. And then they would like do them up as properties. So my job was just to drive them around and then basically schmooze them and show them the best that there was. And of course, because I speak French, I could liaise with the owners, etc. en route. And I loved it because it was kind of like tourism. It was a really smooth transition in from tourism to real estate. But Russell, looking back, I never really tried to understand, well, when I got the deal, then they took it over. I didn't see anything. I had no clue what they were doing.
You just did the intro, effectively.
I was like the matchmaker that did all the grafting and got a salary and no commission.
No commission?
No, I was salaried.
So there's a light bulb moment there where you think, hang on a sec, there's another end to this. A, I want to know how that works. And secondly, I want a cut.
Exactly. Well, I didn't at the time, by the way. Okay. I'm talking now with hindsight because I've been in the industry since then. This is my 16th year. That was year one. Okay. So at that time, I didn't know yet because I thought, oh, you have to be lawyers and I haven't got that experience and nobody taught me. And I wasn't yet around people that actually want to share their knowledge and mentor others. And I should have been, but you know, you have to find those types of people and they weren't it. They were lovely, but they weren't mentors. So then for personal reasons, I'd been on a tour to Oman in the Middle East, the Sultanate of Oman. And I decided I wanted to move to Oman just to be completely radical, different and have a different experience. You know, I was feeling a bit like kind of, you know, France isn't necessarily for me. Where am I going with this? I'm just driving around and making the salary. I'm not making good money. And it doesn't feel like it's right. And Russell, when something doesn't feel right, I move. I change fast. So something else I would definitely say about my personality is I don't stay in something if it's not working, I move. And I'm not scared to move. There's no fear in that because the fear is in staying still.
Do you mean from a company culture point of view? Do you mean from the point of view of I'm not earning enough? You know, the people? I mean, what do you mean by it doesn't feel right?
Well, I think from all angles, I think it's growth. I'm hungry for growth in terms of people growing around me, personal growth, personal development, of course, earning more money and getting closer to my goals.
You want to move, grow, learn, move, grow, learn. And if you're not, then obviously you realise that you need to kind of go somewhere else, right?
Yeah. If only I'd found Keller Williams at that point. I mean, honestly, I am so, anybody that comes to Keller Williams in years 1 to 2, they are so lucky. You have no idea, Russell. I say this to so many people. You honestly don't realize what you've got if you're at Keller Williams in your first few years, because it took me until year 11 to come to Keller Williams. Imagine 11 years.
11 years in the Middle East.
Yes. So then I moved to Oman and I was in a tourism company again for 3 months. And then basically it was an English couple that I was doing like dolphin tours. I was showing people around the ocean on a dolphin glass bottom boat. Because I'll do anything if I'm in the right place and I'm happy and, you know, there's potential. But this couple were like, we're going to open a real estate company. The Oman law was just opening for every nationality to be able to buy real estate. So I was in the right place at the right time. And I feel very blessed about that. 2005, 2006. And there was this brand new project called The Wave. And basically, everybody wanted to buy something new in Oman, including the VIP Omanis. And then I decided to buy a property myself. So I went to buy a property and then basically it literally spiraled from there because the minute I had bought, I could tell the whole world, well, I've bought, of course it's amazing. I'm going to live here.
Validation. Yeah.
So then I was able to sell pretty quickly and I was known as, you know, one of the top agents selling on the Wave. It's called Al Mouj and it's an 18-hole golf course on the ocean with hotels. It's beautiful. It's a whole community. So that was my experience into off plan is what we say in the Middle East, under construction for those not aware of that term. And, you know, I think what I did was I love what I do. You know, I genuinely love to find people homes. I love people. And because there's so many expatriates in Oman, you never have 2 days the same or meeting the same people. So I wasn't a salary there, but I also had commission. So it started to become more interesting because the more I put in, well, I'd start to earn a little bit more. And then I was asked to be head of the sales team, sales director. And so then it was my first foray into actually helping and training and encouraging others. And that was really fulfilling. So we did like a launch of a building. We had a whole plan in place, and we sold over 150 units in the first night, and I was so excited with
night.
Yeah, the first night. It was small apartments, 1 and 2 bedrooms, and it was all Omanis. That was not for expatriates. So, and I realized how fulfilled I felt by the success of my team as well as myself. And I knew that I also wanted to work with others that were as hungry as me, because it's no fun in life to work on your own, really. Teamwork is not exciting.
So when did you get to Keller Williams then?
Okay, so that's Oman. So then we fast forward. I've got a little bit more to add. So then I left Oman for personal reasons, and I wanted to go back to France, but I wanted to go into the mountains to ski. So I called up Sotheby's, and I said to Sotheby's, I know all the Arab clientele that will come to the Alps. I know how they think. I speak a little bit of Arabic. I understand. You want to hire me? I speak fluent French. I phoned them up. I went for an interview. They wanted me to start the same day. And I said, I need to pack up my life in the Middle East and come. But I did. And basically, Russell, I share my Sotheby's story because day one, I'm in a new village in the Alps. I knew nobody. I couldn't get my car out because I was snowed in. So I had to hitch my first day with this lady who was a doctor who gave me my first listing. Day one. Not even got to the office on day one.
Wow. She listed that day.
No, she gave me her property. It took me another 10 days to get it on because I had to go meet her.
She committed. So she picked you up and she commits. So in the journey, in the snow.
Oh, yeah, we're talking in French.
With you.
Yeah, my first day. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm stuck. It's my first day at Sotheby's. I'm in real estate. I don't know anyone. Just asking her about her business. And she said, oh, well, how funny, you're in real estate. I'm looking for somebody to help sell my house.
Wow.
So yeah, and then I literally every day used to door knock. Okay, and I think this is really important that people get to a new area. They're like, oh, but I don't know anyone. Help me, give me leads. It's not like that, I didn't know a soul in Megève. So
at that point, so you had a network, but not a network that was relevant to the Alps, presumably.
Well, my network were buyers, but they hadn't necessarily said they were buying in Megève. I just knew they liked the Alps.
No personal network that was.
Nothing.
Predominated around that geographic area, right? So you're kind of literally starting from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. And, it just proves, I think it can prove that, as long as you do the activities, you can build a business from literally ground up, from anything, from nothing. Right. And again, because I love what I did, I used to go in the car and I'd ski with I met friends to go skiing with, and, it was just brilliant. So that was great. And then I was missing the Middle East. Here we go. Dun, dun.
So from one temperature extreme to another, then back again.
I know. So I came back to Dubai, and this is really relevant story, actually, Russell. So when I decided to move to Dubai, I called up so many real estate agencies, and can you believe it? Nobody would recruit me. Not one. This is in 2012. Well, it was summer 2011. Now, why? Because that was the market was picking up really fast, really strong. They didn't need anyone. It was so easy to make money. And I had no Dubai street experience. I didn't know Dubai. So, they were like, oh, I'm going to have to train her, take time. But remember, if somebody tells me that I can't do something, then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it double, triple, quadruple what they think. So what I decided was I'll get a salary job with a developer, because, developers, but then I have to only sell that development. But at least I had experience. It was my way in. I was on the ground. I met some great people. And of course, my role was to go and present the whole of the Dubai real estate agencies, my project. So what happened? I got to know everyone. They got to know me, and I soon had offers and I could choose. And I joined these two guys in a small company called Lan Hill, because they had so much energy and they knew the Palm Jumeirah at the back of their hand. And I wanted Palm Jumeirah only. I wasn't doing any other area. And there were companies saying, you can come in and do this area. I didn't want anything except the very best. I wanted the best and the highest price property. And that's what I did. So I joined this company. For the first 2 months, I would be the last one in the office most nights. I listed over 80 properties. By the way, that's not a great thing, but at the time I thought it was a great thing, because I just thought the more you list, the more, hit and miss. There was no focus. There was no intention. I just kept listing, thinking, well, I'm sure it's going to get me somewhere. And so, yeah, sure enough, within 8 weeks, I was in the top 3 agents in the whole company. There were over 60 agents, because I just kept going and I didn't know anyone again.
Let me just stop you then. Okay.
Yeah.
You've said that you were last in the office, so first in, last out, you're grafting.
Yeah.
Can we just drill down a little bit in terms of you you're working hard and you're putting the hours in, and then you become the third best agent in that business.
Yeah, for that month.
Filling that gap though. So working hard is one thing, but doing the right thing and working smart and so on is quite another. So what did you do in terms of working hard to ensure that that actually got you to be the top 3 agent in the company in that short space of time?
Okay, so the first thing was I was given old clients of my bosses, to call. So, and I would just call down that list and have chats with anybody anonymously. I have no fear of phone calls and rejection.
How many calls a day?
I remember 80, because we used to have competitions. Who can make the most phone calls in a day? I think mine was once 102, but like I got 80, as long as I had over 80 in my mind, that was pretty good.
You're just sitting there in the office, dial, call, speak, dial.
But I didn't necessarily speak to 80 people, because a lot of people say, can you call back? So of that 80, maybe I spoke to 35, 40. Yeah, because because you've actually got to speak to them. And looking back, I didn't know what I was really going to say. I just knew I can pick up the phone and chat to anyone about real estate. Now, what was really scary, and I want to get this across, Russell, because a lot of agents ask me this, and the first 2 weeks, I did not know Dubai real estate, and I was calling people up with a lot of money, and I knew I wouldn't know the answers, but I still called them.
Yeah.
Okay, and I knew that they would ask me questions that I didn't know the answer. And by the way, that was really scary, and I knew that was scary when I picked up the phone. So I felt fear. Don't think I'm just like oblivious and it's all cool. It's not. I knew it was scary.
So to use a Kellerism, you had to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Very. But what I did know is I can talk to anybody. I can always find, this is a key thing. When I speak to people, within 60 seconds, I want to find something we have in common. Okay, so when I'm talking to somebody, I want to know, probably they've traveled or lived where I have. I'm lucky that I've had that background, or they speak a language, or, I used to live in Oman. Oh, they also live in Oman. I'll find a common denominator as quickly as I can. And if I don't,
something to latch onto in the conversation.
To latch onto. Now, I would definitely have a couple of people that would be rude and say, why are you calling me? I haven't spoken to so-and-so in over 6 months. And I'd say, do you know what? I am so sorry. Have a great day. And then it's about your tone. If it's, oh my God, I'm really sorry, then of course, that's not going to work. But, you feel, that you're a good person, you come from integrity, and you're not there to bother anybody. So that is in my mind. That's mindset, right? And what I also used to do, which I noticed a lot of agents didn't do, is when I did speak to an owner of villas, I would say to them, do you know what? Let's stop the phone call. Let me pop round for a cup of tea. Are you going to be in 2 hours? And I'd get in the car. I'd just literally go see them. And I don't think many people do that. They just want to do the phone call from the office. And I like the personal relationship.
And let's hope one day I was going to say one day we'll be able to do that and have face-to-face conversations again. But of course, as agents, technically now we can. So.
Well, I didn't have the Zoom. So obviously today we have Zoom, but I'm talking like, this is 8 years ago. I didn't have the Zoom. So I think that's what happened. And the other thing was I just didn't give up. Oh, another one is if people called me about a property that I'd listed, I would be so fast back to that call, like instant. If I got a call, I would drop everything. I'd stop the car and I lay by. Hi, did you just call me? How can I help? There is no time for losers. If you're not first, you're last. That's my mentality.
So you were a TL for a while as well.
Okay, so that was I did 2 real estate agencies, and then basically I was called up by the OP, who is like the CEO of Keller Williams in Dubai, and he was just starting Dubai.
The regional OP, so the guy that runs Dubai, not an MC, not a market OP, but the regional OP. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, in Dubai there's only one office for everything, so it kind of mixes between regional and OP. So it was regional stroke OP. So he called me many times, and to be fair, I was like, why do I need to change company? I'm really happy where I am. What do you have that I need? So I'll never forget, I kept saying no many, many times. And, I've also been somebody that's recruited agents. So I'm used to the fact that agents will, refuse to come and meet with you. So that's quite normal because I did that. So then he was really good. He said, I'm having an event. And he said, it's all about business planning clinic for top realtors. And I consider you as a top realtor, and I really have to have you there. So of course, clever. I was like, well, of course I've got to be there. I'm one of the top realtors in Dubai. So I went.
You didn't want to miss out.
I did. Well, there you go. At FOMO. I don't like missing out. So the thing is, Russell, do you know what he had? He had a book that literally changed my life. And I won it. He had questions during the seminar. And if you answered the question first, you put your hand up. And at school, I was always the first to put my hand up. And I won a book, and it was The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Wow. Yeah.
And literally, that is where my Keller Williams journey starts. So that night, because I love books and I love learning, read the book, and bless him, he'd underlined parts of the book. Okay. So I was so impressed. I was like, wow, this guy has given me this book for free. I don't know who is this Gary Keller. I don't know this Keller Williams, and all these incredible quotes. So I called him the next day and I said, by the way, and I hadn't finished the book in the night, but I'd gone through the first 2 or 3 chapters. I said, maybe we should have a chat. So I came to meet him, and really the rest is history. And he brought me in as the team leader, the first team leader of Dubai in 2015. And yeah, like I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
And when was that? How long ago?
2015. So August the 13th, 2015 was my first day at Keller Williams. And I was in Mega Camp, Austin, Texas, franchise systems orientation. That was my first foray into Keller Williams. And that week blew my mind. I was just like, oh my goodness. I mean, I've got goosebumps saying this to you. Oh my goodness. What happened to the first 11 years of my real estate career? Why?
Tell us why. Why did it blow your mind? Sum it up.
Okay, so the people in there, they were intentional. There was a model, there was a system, there was a method. There was none of this, get to the office and just work out your day and work through it in your own way. Everything was organized, that's what I needed.
It's proven, right? So if you want to get to here, you can get here from here, and here's the steps to get there. Right. Yeah.
And then the other thing was, right, there were all these mega agents on stage who were just normal people like you and I with normal stories. One of them, I'll never forget, had literally been brought up living in a hut with no electricity for 18 years.
Sounds like that island you went to when you were 18.
Sorry?
Sounds like that island you went to.
Yeah, that was me. And there he was on the stage as the #1 realtor in Keller Williams Global. And I was like, okay, how can he do it? I want to know. I want to be as successful as these people. So suddenly I found myself around super successful people, Russell, and I realized that this is where I should have been all my life. Because when you're, they say you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and these were my people. It was like,
say that again, because that's a brilliant turn of phrase. You're the sum
of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. Okay, and so in all of my real estate days, if I was the top agent, and I want to say this in the right way, not with any kind of ego, everyone else got upset and jealous, and you couldn't be comfortable being where you were. I needed to be around people that were much higher than me, so I could grow into that.
You could aspire. Yeah.
There you go. So I found that in Keller Williams. Because it almost felt like if I worked really, really late and I hustled, people would laugh behind my back at me, and you know how that's the same in school.
It's a very British thing, isn't it? A very British thing that you shouldn't be the cleverest. You shouldn't be a swot. And if you are, then you get the piss taken out of you on the basis that you're being a bit too keen, you're being a bit too clever. Whereas in other cultures, like the US, being a salesperson, being successful, knuckling down, being open-minded, learning, is seen as an accolade. It's seen as something to aspire to. We have a real problem, I think, in Britain insofar as our culture. But anyway, that's for another Zoom.
Isn't it? I think it's just different mindset. The British don't have the same mindset as the Americans. And, so my role as team leader, as you obviously know, is to bring in exceedingly good talent, the best realtors in Dubai. And, so many people would say to me, yeah, but it's American. It will never work in Dubai, which I'm sure you get in the UK.
You get in the UK a lot. Yeah.
And it's nothing to do with it being American. It's nothing to do with it. It's just, what? The Americans learned quicker than us how to make a heck of a lot of money. So if that's what they're doing, I'm following. It doesn't matter to me where it comes from.
So many things invented in America haven't kind of worked out in the UK. Like the car, and oh no, hang on, that did. It's pathetic. It's ridiculous to think that the flesh and blood and the brain of an American, insofar as adoption, enthusiasm, success, and so on, is somehow different to that of the UK. Particularly when we adopt so many US propositions, products and services. But so how successful were you as a TL then, insofar as what you would recruit?
Okay, so I mean, let's just say it's very different in Dubai in terms of joining a real estate company. In fact, it's different in Dubai because when you come to work in the United Arab Emirates, you have to have a visa to start, okay? And obviously that visa costs somebody money. And so we have quite a different setup, shall we say, to the rest of Keller Williams around the world.
And so is this because the majority of agents are expats?
No, unless you're from the Gulf, to live in the United Arab Emirates, you have to have a work visa. There is no way to live in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or any of the Emirates without a work visa. And you have to have a work visa where you're working, whichever agency you're connected with. And you then also get your real estate license according to the agency you're working with, who has given you the work visa. Okay. And there's a cost for that work visa. And so it's a question of who pays that cost. And, obviously the way of the working world is that the employer pays the work visa, but the platform and the way that the model works in Keller Williams is obviously a bit different. So I think a lot of agents' mindset and mentality find it hard. And also, when you're joining Keller Williams, you are paying an office fee because you're actually receiving so much more value. You're getting all of this learning, all of this, growth and incentives to be better and build your business. And you're getting a bigger split on your commission. A typical agent in Dubai, me included, before Keller Williams was 50-50, right? And it really never went up. Can you imagine? So what incentive is there to me? Whereas in Keller Williams, you start at 64.4% and you go up to 92 when you cap. Okay, and that, by the way, is global, isn't it? It's the same for you guys. It's the same.
Very slight, as is 63 and 90, but
okay. Well, there you go, give or take. And the differences will be in the different setups in the different regions. So it's no different, really. But you see, agents get really excited about this 92% split, but they don't, but a lot of them can't fathom, and me included, before I joined Keller Williams, I never looked at real estate as a business. I looked at real estate as I go and sell a house from 9 till 5 or a few out late nights, and then I go home. So I think it's the mindset shift, and the top realtors, when I was having the conversations and obviously explaining to them, they got that, wait a minute, I could be earning 92% on all these great deals instead of giving 50% away. And so I think my role as team leader in Keller Williams in Dubai, and I would say you guys are probably similar in the UK, is really having to share who is Keller Williams first and why we do it different and how it can benefit the agent. Whereas in the US and Canada, it's a household name. I don't need to tell you about what Keller Williams is. You already understand the concept. So it's
there's a lot of consumers, and indeed probably a lot in the industry, that still don't know Keller Williams in the UK because it's only been in the UK for not even 3 years yet.
Well, it's the traditional role. It's the traditional model. It's traditional, independent, and interdependent. And your traditional role is your agency. Then you've got your independent, and then your inter, which is us in Keller Williams.
But to me, it's not just about the split. I've taken calls from potential agents that want to move from a corporate or an independent to. Yeah. They're excited. They flirt with the idea of the whole, what we would call, or what the media in the UK would call, the kind of hub model, the hybrid model, which isn't really. It's just being an agent. Yeah. And the conversation often I have, insofar as the person on the other side, is they want to talk about splits. They want to, how much am I going to earn and so on. How much is it going to save me in terms of what you pay for? And at first, that's perhaps a valid couple of questions. Mm-hmm. But actually, if you focus just on the fact that, let's say EXP as a competitor are going to give you an extra 5%, and they're going to, they're not going to charge you a monthly fee for 3 months. Yeah. Is that the best deal? Well, I would argue that actually, if a business is going to give you greater value in terms of technology, in terms of compliance, in terms of culture, and particularly where Keller's concerned, training to enable you to perform better, then actually surely it's better to have 63% of 200 grand than it is 68% of 100 grand, isn't it?
But then you need to be speaking to people with a growth mindset, Russell. And actually, I'll be fair, there's a lot of agents, and this is not a bad thing, okay? Not everybody wants to be the top, and I get that. But there's a lot of agents that are very happy because they've never had that. People have not dreamed big enough. And this is where, you know, Keller Williams gives me the goosebumps, because it's made me dream even bigger than I ever dreamt before. And I think it happens, you know, a lot of people say it's not what you get at Keller Williams, it's who you become. You know, it's made me dream bigger. And I think a lot of agents coming into Keller Williams, you can't hope to tell everybody what Keller Williams gives you in an hour, right? Or 2 hours.
So where have you got to in terms of, now that you're an agent as such, again, and now obviously entrenched within Keller Williams for a few years, where have you got to in the pecking order?
Okay, so basically I was team leader for 2.5 years. So that was no longer selling, salaried, recruiting and training and growing the company in Dubai, just so people who are watching this know what a team leader is. But then I chose to go back into production because I'd learned all the best ways to do it the right way in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book by Gary Keller. And I wanted to go onto the street and now do it my way, which was Gary Keller's way, because I'd never learned, I taught it, but I wanted to do it. So, you know, now I've done it and I've proven it works. Now my dream, well, not my dream, sorry, my goal is I want a team. And the first step on page 202 of the MREA, we all know that, is the 7 levels. And the first recruit that you need to grow into a business is your admin, your personal assistant. So that's where I'm up to. I'm looking for a personal assistant.
You're being modest, Lucy, because don't you hover between the number 1 and number 2 agent in Dubai for Keller Williams?
Yes. Yeah, no, I do. Yeah. So, yeah, I do. I mean, look, because I'm a global person, I'm a global soul anyway, Russell. I've traveled and lived on 4 continents. So for me, I love to speak to people from all the other countries. I'm just very lucky that, guess where we're in Dubai, who are we selling to? We're selling to every nationality on the globe. So it completely aligns with who I love dealing with anyway. So I've made it my purpose to go out and get to know my Keller Williams colleagues in the UK and Poland. This morning I was on to, you know, a new agent in Belgium, you know, US. I've got to know everyone. And also because I'm interested personally, you know, I used to live in Central America. I want to know the Central Americans. And I used to live down the other side of the world. So I've got to know all these people, and then I've learned from them, and I watch them on social media, and I copy success. I don't pretend to be the most successful because it's my ideas, but you know, I'm not one of these people that just waits and reads books and will learn it in the next 5-10 years. I haven't got time for that. I want to learn it tomorrow. And if
it's almost like someone's had a load of success,
yeah,
written down the model for that success,
yeah,
for everybody to follow,
yeah, and
would then encourage them to do so to emulate that person's success, isn't it?
Well, show us that show us the red book, okay?
It's that.
Yeah. Russell, if there's any real estate, you know, professional that's watching this and has not read that book and then is not putting that book into practice and still moaning that they don't have money, you just need to go read the book.
There was I was in I don't think you went to Dallas, did you, for family reunion? I was in Dallas with Mark Reddings and Ben Taylor and Andrew Ben and so on, and we had dinner one night with Matthew Teeter, who's the coach, as you probably know. He's read that book 26 times.
I've only read it twice. I'll be honest, I've read it twice, but it's really underlined everywhere.
I've read it once. I'm about to start reading it again once I've finished. I've just finished Who Moved My Cheese, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm about to read this again, actually. I've read it before, years ago, The Tipping Point, which is
I've read that,
very poignant in the UK, because I think Keller Williams UK is close to a tipping point. I mean, we now have 200 agents. Keller Williams Plus has over 40. I mean, Claire Reddings has done, and Mark Reddings have done a fantastic job of recruiting agents. So can
I ask you, what is your market for your area? What do people sell the most of? What kind of properties? Is it residential, commercial?
Our agents?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't even got to commercial yet, to be honest. Okay. I mean, it's not forgetting that Keller Williams Plus really has only been in production since January, and now obviously we've had the last 2 months interrupted by this hideous COVID thing. It's predominantly residential, predominantly sales, albeit that we are very focused now on bringing people in that have a lettings book and a lettings discipline. Okay. The wonderful thing about Essex is it's quite diverse. You've got lots of volume. You've got some expensive stuff. You've got commuter stuff at 25 minutes away from London at half the price of London. I know, look, people will make jokes about Essex and the people of Essex. And
my grandma's from Essex.
Yeah, I can do that because I'm from Essex. But so Essex for us, apart from the fact that myself, Mark, Claire and Anthony, obviously the partners in the market centre, live here, it's a very... I mean, it's a very big county. There's 1 million people in Essex, but it's fast moving, lots of kind of volume, and house prices are decent. So I want to dig into, before we kind of wrap up, I want to dig into, I mean, genuinely, and look, you and I are biased, and anyone watching this that isn't from perhaps Keller Williams is going to say, yeah, but you would say that. You've had lots of experience. You've worked for, by the sounds of it, 3, 4, 5 different realtors across the world.
Yeah.
The models and systems and the book and so on. Yeah. And I don't want this to sound, I mean, some people watch this stuff and think it almost sounds a bit happy clappy. It sounds like it's some kind of cult or something. Now, you kind of need to either, accept that or push it to one side or whatever. It's basically, it's culture and training, right? So it's not, we're not running the bloody Church of Scientology here. We're just trying to make sure that agents understand. But my question is then, having had that experience, now that you're at Keller Williams and you've got all those tools and the model being really important, how much more do you think proportionally an agent would earn using the model, given the Keller Williams process, versus being in another real estate brokerage and not having those models? I mean, do you think there's a monetary difference? Because I think that's what some of this stuff boils down to for some potential agents.
Well, the thing is, I mean, huge. I mean, I would easily say double, if not more. I mean, I would say probably 70 to 80%. It's so much more because you're just being systematic. There's a plan. It's like, if a pilot is about to fly from A to B, he puts in the coordinates. And he goes there step by step. He doesn't faff around, working out, shall I go this way a bit? Shall I go that way a bit?
Trial and error. Yeah, I might get there.
There's no trial and error.
That fuel and crash, but I'll try. Yeah.
I'm really not a focused person, Russell. My personality, and I think a lot of agents' personalities, if they're people, they're probably not so detailed and into the focus. And I'm definitely not a focused person always. Keller Williams made me focus. The one thing by Gary Keller made me focus. And when I have a plan and it's simply follow it, you cannot help but get results. It's as simple as that. And it works no matter where you are in the world.
And I think also that in the UK, which I think is a bit backward, I get criticised for saying this stuff, but the UK in terms of its sharpness as real estate agents versus the US, by the sounds of it, the Middle East and certainly Australia and so on, we are pretty backward, particularly when it comes to customer care, being 24/7 full on, but also lead gen. Now, if I say to most agents, what's your sphere look like? What's your network look like? What are you doing? How are you nurturing? How often are you contacting the people in that network? How are you building your network? And then start talking about 2 words that when they're put together in the UK send shivers of fear down the spines of estate agents. You know what those 2 words are? Door and knocking. Right? To you, to me, done it a million times, to good agents with confidence and that have ambition, I guess, they would think nothing of going and knocking on 30 or 40 doors and having conversations and so on. In the UK, I mean, I would go as far as to say 90 to 95% of agents don't like it and then don't try and push through the fear. They just don't do it, even though in their town, so they're part of Billericay or Stratford or Chelmsford or Mountain or wherever it might be, they've got a ready-made list of people that not only can they knock on the door, but they're going to get a reception that's decent and positive because those houses are already on the market.
You mean they don't want to knock on those doors?
No.
But Russell, let me ask you this, okay? So it's fear of rejection. But the way I look at it is if I knock on a door, right, this is how my mind talks me through it. So I'm going to knock on a door and hopefully those people are going to open with a smile. But it's not my fault if they've woken up and they've had a bad day. Okay, they'll take it out on me, but it's not my fault. I just happened to be there at the wrong time. So the only thing I can do is just smile sweetly and say, I'm so sorry to disturb you, and I hope you have a great day. And I think it's coming from value and understanding that you are there, someone of value, to be their friend. You're not taking anything from them. It's again the mindset.
And the great thing is in the UK, if 95% of agents don't like door knocking, it means that all of your competitors, so Bear Stewie's, Foxtons, whoever, they're not doing it either. So you're literally unopposed. And all you're doing is striking up conversations. You know, you don't have to stand there. You're not going to give the hard sell. You're not going to apologise profusely for knocking on the door. You're literally just going to say, I'm just passing. Here's my card. Notice you've been on the market for a little while. If I can help, just let me know. And literally walk away.
Absolutely.
And then maybe go back a week or two later or whatever.
Yeah.
It becomes a question of data. Now, there will be a generic figure, whatever it is, that X amount of doors means X amount of leads, means X amount of listings, means X amount of revenue, basically.
Yeah.
And it will vary from agent to agent. But once you get in the groove and you know that actually, if I knock on 15 doors, I get a phone number or I get an email address. But for every 2 of those, I get a listing. And for every 2 listings, I get a completion that's worth £6,000.
Yeah.
Now, I've just made those numbers up, right? So now I've got to kind of work out exactly what that means. But let's say it means that if you knock on 50 doors, you earn £6,000.
Yeah.
Now divide 50 into £6,000.
Yeah.
Insofar as what each door is worth, that's how people should be thinking. I'm knocking on a door here. Every door I'm knocking on is worth 150 quid.
Yeah.
That's
I love that. By the way, I love that analogy.
Yeah, but we don't. So look, one more question before we go, because this has been fascinating, but it's like life stories with Piers Morgan. We should have adverts.
We could talk for hours, but anyway, another time.
And we will. We'll continue to. But the you've kind of gone through your early life, which I think is fascinating, and it's quite unconventional. I mean, not everybody's kind of got to boarding school at 8 and gone around the world several times.
But yeah, very young. Exactly.
What drives Lucy Parker to be successful? Why are you so competitive? You said before we started recording, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win. Why?
Okay, because I was never the best in the class at school. So actually a lot of the school teachers and my education, especially at boarding school, everyone was put into divisions, set 1, set 2, set 3. I was always 3 or 4. I was like, for languages, I was told never to do another language because my French was rubbish. And then I went to uni, did both languages and got the fastest improvement of the whole year in uni in my last year.
And now you're fluent.
Yeah, and I'm fluent. I speak both. I do a lot of my deals in French and Spanish because they come in from all over the world to Dubai. So the thing is that if somebody's going to tell me that I'm not going to be successful, I will go out and prove it. So yeah, it's fear of loss. I want to win. I don't want to lose. I think it's more the fear of losing. I don't want to lose. It's proving myself because I was never the top in the class at school. I'm actually quite angry with school, Russell, if I'm honest with myself.
You think they teach you the wrong stuff?
Yeah, because I haven't got the best memory. But I can adapt to any situation and I can outthink most people. But I haven't got a memory that's going to remember, the Battle of 1066 all the way through to the 19th century world wars.
Which of course 1066 being so important in life. I mean, I refer back to the Battle of Hastings and the whole King Harold thing. I mean, on a daily basis. I mean, it's so important.
But that's it. So I think, unfortunately, I don't know who's watching this, and, I don't think school is relevant for probably 75% of those who are successful today. School, it was great for me to have my friends and to learn how to get on with others. So I learned the rules of the street and people, but I've never used half of that.
But actually school was good for you because it inspired you because you weren't number one at school to want to be number one in life.
Well, that's true. There you go. I like that. Yes. So it did. So I'm grateful. Okay. I'm grateful for my school years because I am who I am today because of my school years. And I know what I learned and what I didn't want to do and what I wanted to grow on in the future. So yeah.
Final question then. So what does life for Lucy Parker look like in 3 years' time? What are you doing now? Where are you going? What's your goals?
In 3 years' time, I have 2 teams. I have one in Dubai and one somewhere overseas, still deciding what to do and where. I also see my dream is to have an orphanage, not just one, many orphanages all over the world. I love children, but I want them to have I want them to have the experience, how to live a real life, you know, understand wealth and money and how to live and get by, because I never had all of that. Like,
you want them to have a life by design too.
I want the children, and I want to give it to those that really don't have any start in life, because having traveled so much, I've seen such poverty, and I want to help all those people, and I can't do it without earning a lot of money. Of course, I have my own personal goals as well, but that's only going to get me so far. I won't be fulfilled from that.
Got it. Right, listen, I'm going to click record off now, because
Okay.
and we'll kind of we'll call that a wrap. This has been fascinating. Thank you.
Great.
I only contacted you this morning and said, hey, do you fancy doing a Zoom? Let's have a bit of a Keller on Keller chat about life in general and what makes you tick. And I think it's been absolutely fascinating.
Well,
and I hope that the feedback I get from this will be that you are honestly quite an inspiration. So
thank you, Russell. And I love it. I love to help unleash the potential of as many people as possible in the world.
Cool. Right, stay there, don't go away.